I have returned shut. I have my new water. I have actually, some pudding. It's a little snack. But yes, I returned. So, how did the situation end up like this? Walt takes a furious sip of cola, while warily watching the Finn, who's carrying shopping bags of all shapes and sizes. The girls have gone to a lingerie store, and the young man had no choice but to pull away with the only other male and make small talk outside. Yes, the other man, who was about to follow the girls and swagger inside the store itself. Does shopping really ever need a reason? Unperturbed, the short-sleeved man spreads out both hands in a frivolous gesture. Not to mention, the duty-free stores here are indeed cheaper than in London. The guy's really good at carrying bags. Even with his ridiculous posture, still they do not fall to the ground. Can it be that he had frequently played such a role in the past? Isn't his wife some archaeologist who is often away from home? Women indeed terrifying creatures. Nah, I love women. So is this the reason Dr. Tesla lives paycheck to paycheck? Why is there a hint button for paycheck to paycheck? Oh, this is good context actually. The original Chinese describes Tesla as a member of, or the Moonlight Clan, someone who spends their entire income every month. It has a different meaning from the English term moonlighter. The Chinese version of this note simply explained the term using the English phrase living from paycheck to paycheck. I see. Similar terms in different cultures. Real. You're half right. To be honest, she has also been indulging in mail chopping recently. And I've heard she has bought many useless things. Yeah-oh. I mean, she did buy actual truffle with laboratory funds, so I wouldn't be surprised. It must be really hard for Dr. Einstein to deal with her. You got it completely wrong, huh? Don't you think that things are more fun and interesting precisely because of people like Tesla? Don't look down on the girls. If you're too rigid, you may never find your other half in the future. Mind your own business. Oh, cold and gloomy on the outside, hot and spicy on the inside. How quaint. If you wish to be even more somber. Perhaps in the future you can follow in the footsteps of Humphrey Bogart. Humphrey Bogart was an American film author who reigned legendary for decades after his death, nominated for an Oscar. Oh, and Casablanca. They have so much like random tidbits of information in here. I mean, like Rick Blaine in Casablanca. Ah, you haven't seen the film, have you? Perhaps next time we're in Lab 42, I'll show it to you. Look, basically, the good man should have a clear idea of his strengths. Mr. Goldrim Glasses gestures with an OK sign and rounds off the topic before Waltz could get in another word. I do have something I've been concerned about for a while now. Walt tries to dispel his negative impression of the Finn and begins to steer the subject of the conversation to one of his own liking. Oh? Is it about the organization? Or is it about something we're going to investigate? It seems he won't refuse any topic. I do care about those two issues. But what I wish to ask you is neither of those things. You wish to pose a question specifically to me? The look of Mr. Goldrim Glasses betrays a hint of surprise. He seems to waver ever so slightly. It's just that... No need to dilly-dally about it. Neither doctor has a boyfriend yet. Nobody asked you that! As you were saying absolutely nothing, all I could do was guess blindly. Mr. Goldrim Glasses shrugs his shoulders in an exaggerated manner. Age, body measurements, preferred taste in fat. Yo, slow down, dude. Hey! That's a suggested laugh. I think it's best for them to wait for them to give the answers themselves, yeah? Hey! Please don't show me that expression. I'm not poking fun at you on purpose. I simply don't know the answers myself. But you see, with such private and personal details, wait by any chance you ask them about thinking it through. Finn makes a beheading gesture while keeping his grip on the paper bags. You're nuts. You don't say. But when I met my future wife for the first time, I stupidly asked her a question. Isn't it a bit silly for you to still be wearing bloomers at your age? And then I was beaten to a pulp. Well, yeah, that's kind of stupid. That's kind of stupid. That was intense and healthy beating, I tell you. No one else is responsible for your own madness but yourself. But to be honest, if someday you meet a 30-year-old girl who still enjoys wearing bloomers, don't give up on this opportunity. If she happens to be a Finn, especially one who likes Ivan Polka, Miku, you could even invite her to a son. What the hell? What is this guy talking about? I am absolutely baffled. By the way, my full name is Elias Nokian Virtanen, an authentic Finn. Traditionally, everyone in open sauna room has to be completely frank and open with each other. Why do I feel like you're desperately promoting saunas to me now? Oh, I thought since it's a question you wanted to ask me specifically, it must be related to something I'm very familiar with. Give me a break, I barely know or even want to know anything about this sauna business of yours. Oh, isn't it the only cultural exploit of my beloved Finland that has gained worldwide popularity? Why are there more notes of this? Saunas, the quintessence of Finnish national culture? It's estimated- wait, 2 million saunas in Finland! On average, every 3 Finns owns- wait, what? In ancient times, saunas are gender neutral. Wait, there are that many what the hell? Wait, is that true? What? If so, that's actually insane. Well, the questions I want to ask have nothing to do with Finland. As a result, when the two doctors finally re-emerged from the store, Walt had still not yet inquired about any of their personal hobbies or habits. When the group finally boarded the flight to Chicago, Einstein had already changed into a set of newly purchased clothes. A furred shawl coat resembling a ferret, and an overflowing dress layered tier upon tier, resembling a cream cake. It is said to be a Victorian-era debutante dress. It is difficult to describe, but the dress worn on her body gives off a strange and incongruous vibe, especially given that she is now sleeping, reclined on a seat with that book about Raymond plastered upside down on her face. Needless to say, this could only have been the result of Tesla's personal fashion sense. Also needless to say, this could only have been the result of Tesla's own wallet. And finally, it goes without saying that people like Tesla could never be caught reading professional or technical literature on an airplane. Let's play cards! The fashionable red-haired twin toes announces. Why doesn't she wear that doll-like dress herself? She wanted to see Einstein just dressed super fancy, I guess. 3 people, it's a bit awkward though. It seems like the Finn has already started to seriously weigh up on their options. You're missing one. Mr. Goldroom Glasses is definitely the type who likes to play bridge. Nothing awkward at all. Since we're already in America, how can we not play Texas Hold'em? Oh, Texas Hold'em poker. But do we have enough loose change? Stop speaking nonsense, Finn. Don't we have this? The redhead twin tails howls loudly, with ill regard for the other passengers, and pulls out that box of chocolates from Einstein's bags. We gambling for Shocky? Pulling chocolate balls and coins together as gambling chips. You really are a child. Did you know, once upon a time, chocolate was considered as precious as gold? As early as the time of the Aztec Empire, cocoa beans had already become an important strategic resource, used as currency. Oh. And after the landings at Normandy, the chocolate ration to the US soldiers became something of a hard currency on the Western Front. Everything you could imagine could be bought with chocolate. Modern chocolate is produced by some kind of special crystallization technology, which can preserve its hardness and taste at the same time. That's why chocolate, once melted, will taste worse when it's refrozen. It fundamentally changes everything at the molecular level. Oh. Anyway, we should be thankful for today's industrial civilization, for making it possible for us to follow our heart's desires, and eat as heartily as we please, amen? Excuse me. Yes, Assistant Walt, what is your question? You have permission to ask. She really do like the chocolate, but again, this is a case I completely understand. I also heckin' love chocolate. Here's your good. This Texas Hold'em you mentioned, I don't know how to play it. What's the matter? It's not that hard, you'll catch on as you play. Gosh, have you never heard of fake it until you make it? How can you give such a long-winded explanation on the origins of chocolate, yet when it comes to both members of the volume only he himself can hear? What? You harbor some dissatisfaction with me, a doctor? No, I wouldn't dare. Not real gambling, after all. Even if it were a real gamble, I would have nothing to lose anyway. As he reaches this line of thought, Walt decides to harden his resolve and bite the bullet. Fold. Fold. Wait. Tesla fiercely snatches the 2 cards from the top of the discard pile and forcibly shoves them back into Walt's hand. No fold! What? Why? No particular reason, just no consecutive folds. But how can you be so tight of a beginner's hand? You're only playing when you see a face card or a pair. Otherwise, you just pass like you're brain dead. How is that any fun at all? Assistant Welt, do you know what the biggest problem with gambling is? Losing money? Welt looks at the empty spot that is the depleted earnings of the young doctor. No! For people like you, it's caring too much about your winnings and losing all sense of fun of the game itself. Look at you! Always so conservative, always hesitating, always cowering, always stuttering. Are you even a man? God does not play dice. That is so ominous to just jump in with Einstein. Familiar inorganic voice transmits from beneath that Raymond book. It seems that Tesla's loud voice has finally stirred Einstein from her dreams. You're awake. Even without looking at Tesla, Walt can still feel the blush on her face. Don't worry. The upside-down Rainman is casually tossed to a corner. I will join as well. Chocolate. The girl, whose hair looks even more messy than before, ignores the other's astonishment and reaches out with her hand. Funtail snatches several gambling chips from the 2 gentlemen and hands them to her. Just then, didn't you say God does not play dice or something? Well, you're indeed correct. The girl quickly strips off the wrapping paper from one piece of chocolate. God does not play dice. But God does eat chocolate. Profound. By the time the airplane finally landed in Billings, Montana, the sun had already set for a while. In fact, if it weren't for the difference in time zone and location, they should probably see a bright and splendid morning sun hovering above London right now. Well, if the London haze isn't so heavy this time around. Billings is a small city, and coupled with the fact that it is currently off-season for tourism, there seem to be barely any people in the otherwise large terminal. But perhaps because of this, once someone starts up a greeting or says hello, it is clearly audible at the distance of 100 meters or more. Oh my gosh! Pretty lady, hello? Yo, she pretty though. A tall, light woman with waist-length hair greets them loudly from a distance. Oh my gosh, it's Scrooger! Oh my god, cute! Next to the sisterly woman is a young girl dressed in down jacket with a single corkscrew ponytail. An expressionless face, waving her hand in a perfunctory excuse for a greeting. Huh. Sure enough, the old hag is also here. Tesla is biting on her nails with some degree of resentment. That tall woman is Professor Plank, my doctoral supervisor, and the nominal head of the North American branch. Seems the other girl must be Schrödinger, the one who sent the mysterious letter. She seems to be about the same age as Tesla. Is she also a doctor? Also, what does nominal mean? Can it be there's some other boss behind the curtain? Hey, my babyless girl is so cute in that dress. You've grown a little taller, yeah? Oh, it's a talking sprite! Cute! While Welt is still in the middle, reflecting on Einstein's words, the girl is suddenly pulled by Professor Planck into a tight embrace. Perhaps because her face is certainly buried deep within the considerable bosom of the other woman, Mophead lets out a sad noise that much sounds like she's being smothered or suffocated. Oh, she angry. It's unfortunately very cold in Montana. My little Lieblings, have you brought enough warm clothing? You don't need to remind me. Tesla gives Plank a sour look. As for you, aren't you afraid of murdering your most beloved student even as you speak? Mein Gott, one is inclined to believe that baby Literal is quite enjoying herself. The long-haired sister relaxes her arms ever so slightly, and as Einstein's forehead squeezes out from her bosom, she gives her a light kiss. Ah! What the hell are you doing? Tesla blows her top, exploding into fiery rage. What's wrong? Aren't we all girls? Yes, you see, but this is the lesbian series. You can't say that so lightly here. The big sister throws a wink at the girl wrapped in her left arm while bringing her right index finger to her lips. Oh, Line is dying. The poor mophead can only give a muted response. She has not yet recovered from the shock of the assault. Oh dear me. The Finn smiles as usual, but Walt can now clearly read that his utterance of shock was closer meaning to the scene happened exactly the way I expected it to. Greetings to the two of you. I am Dr. Elias Nokia Mertanen, a scholar in ancient manuscripts. This is Walt Joyce, our research assistant. And I'm sure Dr. Tesla needs no formal introduction, right? It turns out that this person is also a doctor. Looks like it's really hard to find a proper job these days. An expert in ancient writing. That will certainly be most helpful to us. Professor Planck finally releases poor Einstein from her grip. She takes a long, seemingly earnest look up and down at the Finn, but then her eyes turn to rest upon Welt. Research assistant. Nominally speaking, yes. Being scrutinized with an unnerving gaze by the strange older woman, Walt felt a chill run down his back. The specific details involve a confidentiality agreement with the North European branch. Professor, you need not bother to ask. 1,000 thanks to you, Einstein. You're my guardian angel. Long live Einstein. Really? Even when the North American branch always tells you everything we know without reservations. Not clear if she's trying to tease her student, but the sisterly professor appears to be deliberately putting on an anxious and sullen expression. Well then, teacher, your 3 measurements and your age, please. Oh, I got the voice wrong, is Einstein. Neither does Miss Mophead pull back on her punches. 94, 62, 92, 17 years old, 17 years ago. 14... 24? Wait, that doesn't feel right. Wait, God, why am I so bad at math? Hold on. Einstein's finally learned to care about her teacher's well-being. So happy. Oh, she's 34, not 24. Okay. No, she's older. Sisterly professor proudly makes a hard gesture of her hands. Did I say something strange? Surely you're joking, Miss Planck. This is a reference? Surely you're joking, Mr. Feynman is the informal autobiography of the Nobel laureate and physicist Richard Feynman. What the hell? The references. I say. Amidst the awkward atmosphere spreading there, the only person who had not uttered a word before who breaks the silence. Let's first decide what to eat for dinner, then we can continue our conversation. With a poker face, she waves her right hand to like a Japanese fortune cat, motioning them forward. What is this? In a tavern near the airport, Tintails blinks at a plate of fried meatballs on the dining table. Rocky Mountain oysters? The mischievous big sister introduces them with a smile. For some reason, the girl with the single corkscrew ponytail sighs helplessly. The professor, she prefers to eat these, but I don't know if you lot can ever get used to them. Aren't these just oysters? It's not something I haven't already had before. That said, these do seem a little strange. Tintails takes a fork, prods disapprovingly at the piece, then carefully places it in her mouth as though she were eating dessert. Well, Although she had already felt something fishy when her fork pierced the meatball, it was only after it entered her mouth that she really began to feel her heart thump and palpitate with anxiety. The rubbery, elastic texture is completely unlike the rich, complex flavor she'd expect from a good seafood. This is definitely not some oyster, but then it is also unlike any other chicken, beef, liver, or heart she had ever tasted. So what the hell is this? Heart? I haven't eaten a heart before. Now I'm curious. The meatballs aren't exactly unpalatable, but even then, doubt begins to etch itself onto Dr. Tesla's face. The Rocky Mountain Oyster is an affectionate nickname. After seeing that she had swallowed the meatball completely, Professor Plank begins to explain without a moment's hesitation. As you see, this area is mountainous. During a time when technology for food preservation wasn't that well developed, there was no way for the cowboys here to eat real oysters. So these morsels, that people from a coastal region would otherwise rarely ever eat, they decided to call them oysters, half out of consolation, half out of amusement. In everyday life, we have a lot of names for these things. However, if we want to be accurate, in the biological... Oh, I see. What? Tontel simply cannot believe her ears. Ah, I see. Yes. Professor Plank repeats with a smile. These are testicles taken from young bulls. At the same table, Einstein and Schrödinger shrug helplessly. Walton and Finn hold riveted gazes at the forks in their hands, wondering what to do with the fried meatballs that had been hovering so closely to their gaping mouths. Oh no, she's not happy. Indeed, as for poor Tesla, her face has turned completely green. Quite literally. Within the confines of the tavern, it is easy for people to ignore any change occurring in the outside world, in every sense of that term. By the time Walt and his party had eaten and drunk to their heart's content, settled their bills and checked out, snow was already falling outside, having begun some time prior. There is not a trace of moonlight on the night sky. Instead, snowflakes swirl and flow down gently, under the tangerine streetlights, reflecting the shimmering brilliance of the starry sky, as if it were all some illusory dream. Oh, I like this drawing. Carrying a drunk as a skunk Tesla on his back, Walter laboriously lifts his head and looks up at the night sky. So, this is snow. I don't remember seeing it myself, and I don't know why, yet I feel a sense of nostalgia. Deja vu. Einstein opens an umbrella and falls into step beside him. Pardon? A hallucinatory memory. Don't think you've ever seen snow before. It just may be that your hippocampus is overstimulated at this moment. Ah. The Chinese note further explains the etymology of the Chinese and English terms for the phenomenon. In Chinese, the term is borrowed from the Japanese translation, which is generally translated as repeated sensation or hallucinatory memory. Huh. There are times the human brain sometimes deceives itself. But your emotions may be sincere, but their origins may be fake. Sorry, it seems I've ruined the moment. No, I sort of like it when someone says something aimlessly like that, so casually and without a care in the world. At least it's more interesting than not saying a word. It seems you two have quite a good relationship. The long-haired big sister had managed to catch up from behind some time ago, without anyone noticing. Professor, elders shouldn't interrupt when young people are talking to each other. Boo-hoo. Baby Listerol is too cruel. Hank weeps in a faint and exaggerated manner. Now big sister's truly heartbroken. I had even planned to tell you some good news. Professor, it is silly to pretend to be cute with less than wholesome intention. I am earnestly trying to be kind. All of you must be prepared for nighttime raids. The twice 17-year-old girl suddenly puts on the pose, much like a model in an advertisement, and mimes a gesture firing shots at their chefs. Huh? The poor young man is clearly taken aback by the words nighttime raid. Einstein has no particular interest in stargazing. With this statement, Mophead nails the true meaning of the so-called nighttime raid. The two women seem to be familiar with each other's mannerisms, as if they were family. Uh-huh. When you get back to downtown London, you won't be able to see the stars even if you want to. Oh. And Hying, are you two or in between two minds? The long-haired big sister wags her index finger provocatively. Well, you'll have to sleep well tonight. Everyone needs to get up early tomorrow to travel to the site. So pedantic. You're the ones who raised the idea of a nighttime raid in the first place. Of course, us elders always tend to be a bit more pedantic. Suddenly, for some reason, Plank raises her head, gazing over Einstein's head to stare at Welt. Don't you agree? Huh? This girl is such a lovely girl. As an older brother, you should not bully her, yeah? Brother? Guess I was wrong. Long-haired big sister responds pretentiously, as though she had already anticipated his response. Fair enough. In that case, a pet perhaps. Pet? What? What is this all about? I meant it literally. If I had to exaggerate, little slave, a living toy? That's preposterous. Hey, as long as you have a good master, you can undoubtedly live carefree without worry. Pampered like a prince, what's wrong with that? What is with this girl? Schrodinger had discreetly squeezed herself within their company, and now gazes disdainfully with an unremitting ice-cold stare at the pretentious expression on Plank's face. Teacher, I have something to say, but I don't know whether I should say it or not. Here comes my wet blanket Schrodinger, who can only ever speak of ill things. Thank you for your compliment, teacher. But I think for you to say those things in a country whose foundations were rebuilt by Lincoln, grossly inappropriate. I knew there was never going to be any fun coming from your mouth, Schrodinger heckin' calling her out. Oh dear. Destination, Yellowstone Lake. Let's go! Early next morning, as Plank steps on the accelerator, the plunk Volkswagen Type 2 camper van spits out a thick puff of hot air, then trundles forth, carrying everyone westwards out of Billings. Soon after boarding the van, the four in the rear begin to doze off, toppling and sprawling over the seats, probably because they had woken up so early. Pretty background. Park City, Columbus, Reed Point, Grey Cliff, Big Timber. A number of small, quaint colonial towns line the winding Yellowstone River. They have been scattered about throughout the Montana wilderness in a disorderly but picturesque fashion, thus giving this vast landscape a touch of the human spark. Despite having traveled across this route many times, Schrodinger continues to silently admire the bleak scenery outside the window. Oh, Montana, so pleasant. This wilderness filled with serenity is most suited for emptying your mind and calming your mood. It'd be better if there were fewer people. Would you like Alaska then? No, this is enough. No matter how you look at it, there are too many mountains near Anchorage. Siberia might be nice. It's just that Russians have too strong a body odor. What? I might not be able to tolerate it. Huh? What do you mean by what? I am so confused by that statement. I have never heard that. Even in Canada's just to the north. You really favor the exotic over the familiar, don't you? Canada, including the Yukon region near Alaska, was all completely submerged by the Arctic ice during the last age. They even give lore about the hecking... They give details about the hecking ice age, bruh. Real. Teacher, do you reasonably think we'll ever be given an opportunity to work over there? Also, Schrodinger, I sure hope Bronya doesn't hear you say that. She'll heckin' snipe you. Oh, not that Bronya's alive yet. Be that as it may, but Siberia isn't under our jurisdiction at all, yeah? Yes, but the Babylon Laboratory is there. Isn't that the place where they send anyone who disobeys the Overseer for human experimentation? That was a cruel joke, and not at all funny. Teacher, you're always reluctant to consider the negative possibilities. Schrodinger continued to leisurely play with her corkscrew curl, as if the announcement was no concern to her. The uncertainty principle states that the position and momentum of a particle cannot be determined simultaneously, and the uncertainty follows the inequality, where h is the Planck constant. The principle indicates it's impossible for observers to make accurate predictions for all physical quantities of a microscopic particle. The higher the certainty of some quantities, the greater the uncertainty of others. Translator note, she seems to have confused the uncertainty principle of the observer effect. Note this is common confusion. I wonder if that's intentional or not. The role changes of human observation. If you only focus on cute and pretty things, then it'll transform into a fragile porcelain doll. Speaking of porcelain dolls, Einstein's always been a lot cuter than you, Dr. Schrodinger. Schrodinger halts her fiddling over her single corkscrew curl, her finger frozen mid-air, possibly because the jump in topic had been so unexpected. You Austrians will need to practice for another 100 years if you ever dream of surpassing us Moravians with your cruel humor. Huh. Planck is Moravian while Schrodinger is Austrian. I see. Teacher, discrimination on the basis of nationality is unbecoming behavior. That's why you still need to cultivate yourself. Not only is your entire person steeped in Strundank, but you're also a little out of touch with the common sensibilities. How can you ever find a boyfriend like this? So, isn't that convincing enough as a reason for change? Schrodinger sighs helplessly. Must I really say this? Teacher, this is all about your own anxiety of being single. Isn't it getting a bit out of hand? Projection? You meanie? That was totally not cute at all. Oh my god! This is leaning on Ein in the back, that's so sweet. Walt is just barely visible in the corner. I really like Schrodinger's design though. Very, very cute. We do like girls of blaze. When Walt opens his sleepy eyes once more, he sees that the driver of the Volkswagen Type 2 camper van had been replaced by a gloomy corkscrew ponytail. In the front passenger seat, a pair of long legs are propped up against the windshield. Skirt is slipping to one side in an ungraceful manner, and the loose strands of long hair cascade down the back of the seats like a waterfall. Also, the professor happens to be snoring in a rather unladylike manner. Just out of Livingston, now we are driving south along Route 89. Schrodinger explains the current situation, having noticed through the rearview mirror that someone is now awake. Let's check the situation in Yellowstone first. Seems that Einstein too had already awoken some time ago, peeling open her seemingly drowsy eyes. Shouldn't we let those two continue to rest for a while? Hank speaks with her eyes closed. It seems that she too didn't really fall asleep after all. Miss Drunker has slept long enough. Without another word, the mophead with light color hair punches the red twin tails in the head. No! She was sleeping so peacefully on you. Why would you punch her? That's so cruel. Oh no. Ow! Can't you be a little more gentle? Oh my gosh, hi Glyphic Mirror. Hello, welcome to chat. Hope you enjoying the AEVN, Micomi? I very much am enjoying it. Why does your name look familiar? Your name definitely looks very familiar to me. Am I being silly? Are you from the lore nerds group perhaps? My brain is all scrambled right now. I've been reading Simon from the Discord. Oh, yeah, yeah. Real. Nice to see you here. Yeah, I am enjoying it so far. Though definitely it is, it does feel pretty different in the writing style to I guess like most of what I'm used to in HI3, I think. But it's very cool. I like all of the little references and the little scientific things that they throw in there. The little notes at the side definitely do help with that. Also, there do be some cute interactions in here. Also, a few questionable things. You know, it has been an experience so far. I'm gonna see how long my voice lasts. Indeed, you really like the way the VNs are done. You do agree it's a bit different, but you like that the notes add really interesting things to learn about. Yes, it's really cool for sure. I do like vibe with the prose. I know this isn't an official translation per se, but I do like how descriptive it does get sometimes. I do enjoy that kind of style of writing too. I would say the one thing that is like is also interesting is we're not really specifically seeing a lot about the Honkai yet, and I'm guessing that's going to creep up the further that we get into here, because mostly it's been pretty like ordinary life, quote unquote, with just the surrounding circumstances. But yeah, I'm very interested to see where this ends up going. Today she puts on her glasses as soon as she wakes up. Could it be that they are also actually real prescription spectacles and not just plano glasses? People with hangovers have no right to say anything. Einstein gives her a disapproving glance. Is the Finn awake too? Jew, I raise my hand. A familiar, frivolous voice transmits from the rear of the van. Seems quite energetic. Now that everyone is awake, let us begin with the basic geographical situation. Okay. Skrodinger skillfully changes gears and slows down the van to an appropriate speed. As you know, Yellowstone Park is the first natural preserve in human history. The core of the park is Yellowstone Lake, which is the caldera or crater formed. Sometimes I do click forward by accident. Formed from the main vent of the Yellowstone supervolcano. This active volcano can release huge amounts of energy. If it ever erupts, the volcanic ash it brings will reduce the average global temperature by about 10 degrees for up to a year. True, you guess it's a bit mundane, but I wouldn't say the start felt mundane. I don't mean mundane in a bad way, of course, but I do agree it has a more realistic feel. Oh yes, I didn't mean it as a bad thing at all. It's more like it is interesting when a lot of the other media didn't really focus on, as you say, the sort of mundane aspect a lot of the time. It is interesting to see the story focus on that for a while here, you know? 10 degrees. Walter doesn't quite understand the significance of Planck's point. This means that soon after the disaster, the overwhelming majority of tropical or subtropical crops will die off, resulting in failed harvests. If the response is not adequate, it is no exaggeration to say that the devastating famines and plagues will spread throughout many countries. Oh. Relax, that's not something we should worry about in our lifetime. Schrödinger squints at Walt through the rear view window. What's more, if we happen to lose to the Honkai, these oh, well, there you go. These anxieties, they will all cease to have meaning anyway. Of course, if you are a little paranoid, you can also think of the Yellowstone volcano as part of the Honkai Luxury Extra Value Set meal, specifically prepared for humanity's enjoyment. You like when it does this because then it lets people be shown where there isn't loads of crazy stuff happening, that it's okay to have that, of course, is preference. Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, heck, I even kind of wish sometimes that we got our main cast in the game, we got to see more of their daily lives too. I mean, that's why I love cooking with Valkyrie so much, you know? Just being able to see everyone vibe in a more chill environment, it just It gives me fuzzy feelings, and I like that sort of thing a lot. That meal. The destructive nature of the Honkai can manifest in a myriad ways. Red Twin tells it that's the pose of a lecturer. The Black Death, the Ice Age, the World Wars, all of these had a shadow of Honkai within. Wait, the Honkai also had to do with the Ice Age in this? In this? Really? Interesting. Also the World Wars. Not to mention, analysis of war criminals has shown that they often had been eroded by small quantities of Honkai energy. Indeed, there were even 1 or 2 specimens where the Honkai energy density had reached several times the lethal dose. Huh. According to this usage, I agree, interesting. Huh. So it's like... So I guess it's suggesting that people with some amount of quote-unquote evil also had the influence of the Honkai. Well, if you think about it, that could kind of make sense considering the fact that Hershers specifically have the Honkai kind of like speaking to them in the sense of like exploiting their weaknesses per se, right? I suppose I could see how that could happen on a smaller scale where someone isn't a Hersher, but it could bring out negativity in them. But you know, sometimes humans also just kind of do messed up stuff. It's kind of a tricky thing there. People are complicated. Well, the Hersher persona, but that's more for Hershers. We didn't see a lot outside that. Yeah, I'm wondering if they're just implying there's more subtle forms of that just, you know, aren't as bombastic as a Hersher case. Generally speaking, the metabolic circumstances of male mammals are such that they have a strong allergic response to Honkai infections. Ah yes, the explanation behind why all the Valkyries are girls. Wait, allergic response? Huh. I didn't know it was an allergy thing. In other words, men's adaptability to Honkai is usually very low, but occasionally there are exceptions. Whether it is a male war criminal, or you yourself, these are all exceptional cases. Me? Well, I never thought that his name would be associated with demonic war criminals, and for a while he doesn't know how to react. Yes, you clearly have some strange exotic property that we don't yet understand. The organization has conducted so many experiments on you, points you should already be painfully aware of. No, I mean... Calm down. The girl with the natural curls seated in the second row turns around and gently pats the young man's head. Your soul will not deteriorate. Perhaps you have forgotten who you once were, but you are a kind and compassionate person. There's no evidence for that, right? Trust me. There is indeed not much evidence, and I have only my intuition to depend upon here. But please trust in me. Einstein's eyes are warm but resolute. Alright. Let's get back to the main topic, shall we? We're here to get down to business, yeah? Very interesting business, yeah. Finally, now carbon-14 can be detected in this sample. Oh, a radioactive isotope of carbon with a half-life approximately 5,730 years. Huh. I have heard of it before. From this comprehensive assessment, the last human activity in the ruins would have taken place at around 50,000 BC, with a margin of error of no more than 100,000. I mean, how did I read that stat wrongly? 1,000 years. I see more mention of previous era. They did mention that kind of earlier, but Einstein didn't really want to elaborate on it. That is all. Still incredible. The Finn clasped his hands together, sinking into deep contemplation. I did not expect that during the era of the previous civilization, human activity was already present in North America. Yeah, which you could definitely see, which we got more examples of non-Hershey examples at times. Yeah, it would be cool. There's a lot of things that I wish they will delve into like a little more, but you know, I appreciate everything we get. It's analogous to us having research stations in Antarctica, and it does not contradict our current understanding of the previous era. Lang absent-mindedly plays with her long hair. Oh, by the way, I kind of forget when the Anti-Entropy visual novel actually came out in relation to other Honkai media. Like, did it come out before... I assume it came out before Second Eruption, right? At the very least. But I'm wondering how early into the game's life this actually came out. I am curious about that. Don't know the exact release date. I'll definitely look into that later. I do definitely get the impression it was before, like, you know, the whole Second Eruption Chapter 8 through 9 era. And I do know that this originally used to be a light novel before it got converted into a visual novel. I am aware of that part, which in and of itself is pretty interesting. Plank absentmindedly plays with her long hair, a deep and deliberate imitation of Schrödinger from before. No, the scale of this is comparable to the archaeological ruins in the old world. Things may not be as simple as you say. The light novel is quite good too. Yeah, I wonder how much changed between the light novel and the visual novel version, or if it was mostly the same. I do be curious. The Finn continues the proposition of his clasped hands. Where does this wannabe Sherlock Holmes fan come from? That... Walt, who had long ago been scratching his head in confusion, now raises his hand. That previous era you speak of. What is it exactly? Now we're at... no, we haven't arrived at the gardener yet. Professor Longhair studies the signs along the highway. It's okay, we're still early. You lot can still continue to pass the time. Pick one from among yourselves to give him a primer on the subject. Then let me explain. Yeah, I felt like there was some extra bits in the light novel, but the light novel doesn't go as far as the being. Makes sense, makes sense. I suppose at a certain point they just decided this format would fit it better. As an expert in ancient literature, the Finn simply could not refuse the offer. The previous era, as the name implies, is a scientifically and technologically advanced civilization that once flourished on Earth long before the beginning of our own history. This civilization could be traced back to the Astrakhan archaeological site number 3. Astrakhan is located on the shores of the Caspian Sea. Oh. Founded in the 13th century by the Golden Horde. Huh. Local specialty watermelon. It's definitely just a better format, I feel. Not that I don't enjoy the light novels and Mihoyo stuff. Yeah. Most likely. I do really like visual novels. And I have quite enjoyed the art so far. I really like how the sprites look in here. It's very good. And the backgrounds are pretty nice too. I'm wondering if it's that sort of strategy where you take a photograph and kind of like paint over it sort of thing. It looks like it could be, but that kind of style, I do like that kind of style too. This civilization could be traced back to the Astrakhan archaeological site number 3 from around 53,000 BC. It was characterized by a common culture and covered an enormous region, ranging from the Sea of Japan to the Mediterranean, from the Baltic Sea to the Persian Gulf. See. So actually kind of before the 50,000 year number that we usually get. Interesting. I always wonder how far back exactly humans were around even before that. Because, you know, like, what we know of the previous era is pretty advanced, but Were they also humans? Of course. They would have been the first Homo sapiens to step out of Africa. Having said that, their model of civilization was still very indifferent from ours. It's interesting talks about 53,000. Yeah, it's just, I don't think I've heard that number specifically before. Do you mean differences in lifestyle, customs, or art? No. Rather, we are unexpectedly similar in many of those aspects. The so-called model I just mentioned is mainly referring to the duration and diversity of the civilization. For example, our civilization today can be traced back to a few regions, such as the Middle East, as early as 4000 BC. Since then, after nearly 6,000 years of propagation and expansion, we have finally formed a civilized society covering the entire globe. We have countless different nations, countless languages, countless cultures. We have a very diverse civilization. Wasn't it the same for the previous era? No, they were different. Their entire world had a unified language and technological system. In our world, although the Greco-Roman, British, and American cultures have been very influential, they remain far from reaching that level of hegemony. If you were to find a better comparison, the manner of unity is more like that of ancient East Asia, where every other nation around China uses Han Chinese characters in some form or another. So you're saying their culture diversity was very low? Moreover, they seem to have preserved the entire American continent in a pristine, uninhabited state, just like how we are now protecting Antarctica. To put it simply, it's almost as if this land was not their primary source of economic resources. They may have started using Honkai energy on a large scale very early on. Interesting. I didn't realize that the previous era was described as quite that, like, monolithic. Would that be the right word? Interesting indeed. I always wonder about, like, what's going on in different continents that aren't usually focused on, you know? No, Grady, haven't. The only time you remember seeing that in one of the HI3 manga, and it was translation something like 52,000, yeah. If that were the case, then it doesn't make sense to settle in an area lacking in Honkai energy. Just like how the metropolis of today are often situated close to seaports, river ports, and railway hubs. Isn't Honkai a shockwave or radiation-like thing? Lightning can be used to blast people to bits, yet electricity can also illuminate. The same is true for Honkai energy. From a physics perspective, Honkai energy, or so-called imaginary internal energy... Oh, even if I put it like that, you won't ever understand. What a headache. No, explain it to me, Tesla. I promise, I want to learn the lore. Explain it. Oh, thank you, Einstein, thank you! Imaginary internal energy is a hypothesis about the phenomenon of Honkai and the Big Bang. Ooh, the Big Bang? Einstein seemed uncharacteristically delighted to take over the explanation. Oh, oh gosh, it's the hyperfixation time. She's gonna ramble. Let's go. The second law of thermodynamics can be formulated as follows. If the entropy of a system decreases, it will inevitably cause the entropy of another system to rise by a greater margin. From the perspective of information theory, this is equivalent to the huge information asymmetry between the ordinary environment, where information is highly chaotic, and the negative entropic environment, where the information is highly ordered. Historically, research has shown that Honkai energy and this information asymmetry have a strong interrelationship. Mathematically, the imaginary internal energy belongs to the collapsing convergent manifold, while the so-called divergent manifold, that is the four-dimensional space-time that we can usually perceive, contains the thermodynamic manifestation of the real internal energy. Together, these can be mathematically expressed as a higher-order complex function, and as a result, it can be used to predict Honkai fluctuations at the subatomic scale. Therefore, current researchers generally suspect that this imaginary internal energy is Honkai energy, or at least a major constituent of it. Ugh, let me drink water. I see though, that is see, I think this is really cool. I really like when they go into stuff like this. Do I fully understand what she's saying? Not really. I'm not so much a maths person. However, I do like this a lot. This is very cool. I like when they kind of blend the real concepts and theories that we have in our world with the sort of fantasy elements. Not fantasy per se, but their own fictional elements. I like when they blend those things. Anytime you see that word, you can say it's a form of Honkai energy, or more so the term. Oh, I agree, probably got 35 to 50% of it. Yeah. Got the lore side of it mainly, yeah. Yeah, like I'm definitely not so good at this stuff. I mean my partner's a lot better at this stuff. She nerds out. Although she's not outright an expert either. But she definitely knows more than me. So I'm probably gonna be like, hey, can I show you these things? Can you explain to me, you know, later? Possibly. I like to show her Honkai lore, honestly. I just wish she would actually play it. Cries. How about that? Do you understand a bit more, Assistant Welt? But I understood jack all! Bro did not get it. I get it. I mean, listen, look, I read that out loud, and I felt like I got maybe only some of it. If someone was just saying that to me in words very quickly, yeah, I'd be lost. Completely. Passing under the Roosevelt Arc, which is engraved with the words for the benefits and enjoyment of the people. A Volkswagen Type 2 camper. Oh my gosh, thank you for the follow, I really appreciate it. Thank you. Enters Wyoming along Route 89. You know, I'm not wondering if Florida exists. Well, I'm sure Florida exists. But I'm wondering if Florida has ever been mentioned in Honkai lore. That's where I grew up. Or Costa Rica, honestly. How much of South America has actually been mentioned? Or Central America been mentioned in Honkai lore, I wonder? The scholars enthusiastically discuss all manner of technical details. Welt, who barely understood even the most elementary of such details, can do nothing more than admire the scenery of the national park instead. Mammoth Hot Springs, Swan Lake, Roaring Mountain, Firehole River. Americans sure have a quirky way of naming things, and their taste for scenic place names is no less peculiar. The minute we say we understand MiHoYo lore completely probably means we got something wrong. So true. Or it also means that something terrible has happened to the world and wiped out MiHoYo. Which I really hope never happens. I need more Honkai in my life. I am here to stay. They have me in their clutches and I will never let go. Don't mean that in a bad way, of course, exactly same, yeah. Well, what time is it now? Mike, who had switched back to the driver's seat, suddenly seems to remember something and presses Walt for the time. Give me a moment. The young man, lasting a wristwatch, twists his body to grab the wrist of one of the girls in front of him. Yo, that's rude! Don't do that without asking. Could've just asked her. Oi, 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 do you choose death? Turning a deaf ear to Tesla's protest, Walt desperately puts his life on the line and focuses his eyes on that small, round surface. Report for the professor, it is 10:43. Piss off! Oh. How many times has he gotten clobbered by now? I bet a lot. I feel like they're seriously gonna give him brain damage at some point. With a complete lack of restraint, Tesla flips her hand and strikes at her elbow with such force that she even dislodges her own glasses. At once, a tragic, mournful howl resonates throughout the entire van. Anyway, looks like we need to catch up. The long-haired big sister violently changes gear and immediately slams on the accelerator. Poor Welt. Poor Welt indeed. Those who are here for the first time, please look to your right. The camper steadily lurches forward, first by passing several sapphire-colored springs, then crossing over a large bridge. Then it turns off the main highway and rushes up a relatively gentle slope, only to immediately perform a sharp brake with a 90-degree drift. We're gonna crash! Save us! And we're at this moment with Welt still in a state of shock. Phew. A huge column of water, about 30 to 40 meters tall, shoots high into the air from a basin behind the hillside, spewing out a large quantity of white mist, much like a volcanic eruption. Whoa. Oh, Tesla looks so pretty in this, really. Also, of course you can't see this, but like, I have my cat. My arm is full of cat. My cat is like sleeping on my hand. It's actually getting kind of uncomfortable, but at the same time it's very fluffy. So worth it. The old playful geyser. The CGs do be fantastic for sure. What a coincidence that we can actually see it. Oh my, we've definitely hit the jackpot. Winter is indeed much more spectacular. Winter is indeed much more spectacular than summer. Oops, I skipped that. Although this attraction is named Old Faithful because it's very punctual, it actually has two intervals. 65 minutes and 91 minutes. The exact interval is said to depend on the size of each erection. So how about that? Aren't we all very lucky today? Professor, please stop being a tease. This is no dumb luck. Especially given that the park forecasts and updates the eruption times every day. Schrodinger, and always, no matter the situation, you just say something, anything, and all sense of mystery and wonder is dispelled. The surprise ruiner. I get it though. Thank you, that is indeed my strength. Schrodinger is the kind of person that is the one that like tells children that Santa isn't real actually. You just know she is the one to just immediately do that.